As the 2019 season draws near and rosters take a clearer scope, MLB.com has been examining each club's current construction and projecting how personnel might look on opening day. With bullpens becoming more versatile and less defined, the closer role has seen as drastic a change as any in recent years, particularly with many clubs opting for their best relief arms in the most high-leverage situations, regardless of inning. As the 2019 season draws near and rosters take a clearer scope, MLB.com has been examining each club's current construction and projecting how personnel might look on opening day. With bullpens becoming more versatile and less defined, the closer role has seen as drastic a change as any in recent years, particularly with many clubs opting for their best relief arms in the most high-leverage situations, regardless of inning. That trend could certainly continue in 2019, and it has led to some uncertainty about who will pitch the ninth for a handful of clubs. For others, some of the most established closers will retain their roles. Here is a breakdown of where things stand for each club at closer. American League East Blue Jays. The Blue Jays bullpen has plenty of question marks this year, but the one area where there appears to be a lot of certainty is at the very back end. Toronto might have parted ways with an established, yet troubled, closer in Roberto Osuna, but they got an effective one in return by landing Ken Giles during last year's trade. The 28-year-old posted a shaky 4.65 ERA in 2018, but almost all of his troubles came in non-save situations. In save opportunities, Giles was a perfect 26 for 26, and he enters camp as Toronto's undisputed closer. The better he pitches this spring, the more likely it is he will be dealt before the July 31st non-waiver trade deadline. Greg Orch's Orioles. Like nearly everything with regards to the Orioles roster, the closer spot remains in flux. Michael Givens is the obvious choice. One of the O's few veteran holdovers, Givens finished 2018 as the closer after spending the previous 3.5 years as an effective setup man, particularly against right-handed hitters. He is clearly Baltimore's most accomplished reliever at this point, but whether Givens closes remains an open question. It'll likely take weeks of assessment before new O's manager Brandon Hyde taps someone specific for the ninth, if he even does so at all. The O's could also decide whether they prefer to deploy Givens in high-leverage situations regardless of inning. For what it's worth, Givens has said he is open to any role. Joe Rays. There's a good chance the Rays go into the 2019 season without naming an official closer. Sergio Romo led the team with 25 saves last season, but he's not expected to return in 19. For the most part, Romo served as the team's primary closer, but manager Kevin Cash wasn't afraid to use Romo earlier in the game if he believed that was the pivotal part of the game. While that will continue to be the case this season, left-hander Jose Alvarado has the chance to establish himself as the primary closer, with right-handers Diego Castillo and Chaz Rowe as other potential options. Alvarado finished third on the team with 8 saves last season and established himself as one of the best relievers in the American League. His fastball velocity ranks in the 93rd percentile, and he showed a dominant curveball also. Juan Uribe Sox. For a team that won the World Series last year and is loaded in most areas, it is somewhat eye-opening that the closer's role remains unknown so close to spring training. If Craig Kimbrell isn't resigned, who will fit at the back end of Boston's bullpen? Matt Barnes, 96 strikeouts in 61 2/3 innings last year, is the top internal candidate, but the righty has never done it before. Ryan Brazier, who came out of nowhere as a minor league free agent last year, will also compete for the job. Brazier mixed his pitches better in 2018 than ever before, leading to his breakout. If you're looking for an unconventional option, don't rule out knuckleballer Stephen Wright, who has consistently pitched well for the Red Sox when healthy. Ian Brown of Video. Barnes discusses potential closer role in 2019 Yankees. The Yankees' closer situation is clear-cut, with Aroldis Chapman set to be again entrusted with the ninth inning. Chapman converted 32 of 34 save opportunities last season with a 2.45 ERA, holding opponents to .136 average while leading all relievers with a 16.3 K/9 ratio. Chapman missed 4 weeks late in the season due to left knee tendonitis, but with Dellin Betances, Zach Britton and Adam Ottavino pacing their setup crew, the Yanks appear to be well covered in the event of any similar absences in 2019. Ryan Hockel Central Indians. The Indians acquired lefty Brad Hand, one of the game's elite back-end arms, and right-hander Adam Simber from the Padres last July in exchange for catching prospect Francisco Mejia. The addition of the two relievers was not only to bolster the bullpen in 2018, but to also prepare for the departure of Andrew Miller and previous closer Cody Allen at the end of the year due to free agency. The immediate plan was to leave Allen in his ninth-inning role, but with Hand's arrival along with Allen's uncharacteristically shaky season, the Indians soon decided to leave the relievers' roles undefined. After both setting up and closing for the Tribe last year, Hand will officially earn the label of Cleveland's closer in 2019. In his time with the Padres and Indians in 2018, the two-time All-Star recorded a 2.75 ERA with 32 saves and 106 strikeouts against 28 walks in 72 innings over 69 outings. Mandy Bell video. Hand talks Cleveland. Perspective on trade rumors. Royals. The Royals will go into 2019 presumably with the same closer, right-hander Wiley Peralta, who finished 2018 in that role. The Royals resigned Peralta last fall to a one-year deal. But while manager Ned Yost likes to point out, and he did so again at the winter meetings, that Peralta was 14 for 14 in save opportunities once he claimed the job from Kelvin Herrera, who was traded, club officials have hinted that the closer's role isn't necessarily locked in stone. There is a sense that the Royals will get somewhat creative with how they employ their bullpen in 2019, and set roles may never be completely defined. It comes down to whatever we can do to get 27 outs, General Manager Dayton Moore told MLB.com. Jeffrey Flanagan Tigers. While Joe Jimenez is the Tigers' closer of the future, Shane Green remains the closer going into this season. Part of the reason is his experience in the ninth inning, while part can be tracked to his potential trade value down the line if the Tigers make a move. Green's 32 saves last year ranked tied for fourth most in the AL, but his ERA nearly doubled from 2017, 2.66, to 2018, 5.12, thanks to 12 home runs allowed 63 in the third innings, despite a 4% drop in his hard hit rate dropping according to StatCast. 5 of those homers came off his sinker, which dropped in velocity from 2017. On the flip side, his 3.42 strikeout-to-walk ratio last year was the best of his career. If he can avoid the long ball, he should be in line for a bounce-back season. If not, Jimenez will be looming. Jason Beck Twins. There are 5 pitchers in the Twins' bullpen: Trevor May, Taylor Rogers, Addison Reed, Trevor Hildenberger and Blake Parker, with the ability and experience to close, but manager Rocco Baldelli and his staff aren't in any hurry to install anyone in the role. Instead, the Twins are confident they have several arms capable of pitching 3 of the last 9 outs, and how exactly those 9 outs will be allocated will be determined in the weeks to come. Fernando Romero, a hard-throwing 24-year-old, has been a starter throughout his minor league career, but the Twins' brain trust has also had discussions about whether his fastball might play better as a late-inning option moving forward. There's still time for the Twins to acquire a more proven arm via free agency or trade, but even if they don't, remember that Joe Nathan and Glenn Perkins weren't proven when they stepped into Minnesota's closer role, either. Do Young Park White Sox. The White Sox haven't named an official closer, and to be honest, they have given themselves a number of options for the 2019 season. Alex Colomé led the majors with 47 saves in 2017, but he also worked as a setup man for the Mariners last season. Kelvin Herrera, who the White Sox brought in via free agency, and returnee Nate Jones also have closing experience, and the White Sox could turn to Jace Fry from the left side. The focus for the White Sox simply is getting outs late in the game, and they have a number of high-leverage options. Scott Merkin, West Angels. The Angels signed right-hander Cody Allen to a one-year deal worth $8.5 million earlier this month to be their closer in 2019. Allen is coming off a down year with the Indians that saw him post a career-worst 4.70 ERA in 70 appearances, but he's averaged 29 saves over the last 5 seasons and has a career 2.98 ERA. His velocity has declined over the years, but he still has a strong strikeout rate, so the key will be limiting homers. If Allen falters, the Angels could turn to Ty Buttrey, Justin Anderson, Hansel Robles or Cam Bedrosian as closer, but they're confident Allen will bounce back. Brett Bollinger Video. Allen joins Angels on one-year contract. Grows. After the up-and-down tenure of Kent Giles, the club stabilized its late-inning situation by trading for Roberto Osuna last July. The Astros sent 3 pitchers, including Giles, to Toronto for Osuna, who was suspended for the 75 games last year. He converted all 12 save chances with the Astros in the regular season, posting a 1.99 ERA in 22 2/3 innings over 23 games, walking 3 and striking out 19. The former All-Star will be only 24 years old on opening day, and he is under club control for 3 more seasons, so the Astros should be in good hands in the 9th inning for the foreseeable future. He's the youngest pitcher in Major League history to record at least 100 saves. Brian McTaggart Athletics. The A's employ one of the game's best closers in Blake Trinan, who posted historic numbers in 2018. The right-hander compiled 38 saves and turned in a tidy 0.78 ERA, the lowest in Major League history among pitchers with 80 or more innings. He was also the first pitcher in the history of the game to notch at least 30 saves and 100 strikeouts with a sub-1.00 ERA. The All-Star pitcher showed no signs of slowing down and could very well duplicate this success in 2019, leading a bullpen that also includes newcomer Joakim Soria, who also boasts closing experience, and flamethrower Lou Trevino. Jane Lee Mariners. A year ago, manager Scott Survey could trot out All-Star closer Edwin Diaz, whose 57 saves tied for the second most in Major League history for a team that went an amazing 66-0 in games where he entered with a lead. But after dealing Diaz to the Mets along with Robinson Cano in a 7-player blockbuster, the picture is a little fuzzier. Free agent right-hander Hunter Strickland, who saved 14 games for the Giants last year in a season shortened by a broken hand, signed a one-year deal on Sunday and could be the early favorite to fill that role. Fellow newcomers Anthony Swarzak, 6, Corey Guerin, 5, and returnee Sean Armstrong, 1, are the only other contenders with an MLB save to their name, and Survey said he'll likely use different 9th-inning options depending on matchup situations. Greg Johns Rangers manager Chris Woodward made it known on Friday that Jose Leclerc would be the Rangers' closer this season. The Rangers had debated the best use for Leclerc, but decided to keep him in the role he excelled in for the final 2 months of the season after Keone Kela was traded to the Pirates. Leclerc can be dominating with his fastball and changeup if he stays under control and keeps his emotions in check. He did that for all of last season, but especially after taking over as closer. Leclerc did not allow a run in his final 21 games last season, and he allowed just 5 hits and 6 walks while striking out 32 and saving 12 games in that stretch. Overall, he pitched in 59 games with a 1.56 ERA and a 0.85 WHIP. He posted a 13.3 K/9 ratio and allowed 3.7 hits for 9 innings, tr. Sullivan National League East Braves. A healthy Arodys Vizcaino has proven to be a reliable closer, but concerns about the durability of his right shoulder could lead the Braves to primarily use A.J. Minter in this role. Minter struck out 43% of the batters he faced while experiencing his first 16 career appearances in 2017. That number dipped to 25.6% last year, when he tried to be too fine and then battled the lingering effects of lower back discomfort. If the young southpaw further develops the changeup he displayed more frequently in September, he'll have an off-speed pitch to complement his effective cutter. Mark Bowman. Marlins, without a clear frontrunner, the Marlins may be leaning to closing by matchup. Right-hander Drew Steckenrider and lefty Adam Conley are the likely choices, but adding a veteran free agent to join the mix is certainly possible before opening day. Their closer situation came in question when Kyle Barraclough was dealt to the Nationals in October for international bonus pool money, as it created an opening in the ninth inning. Manager Don Mattingly said at the winter meetings that the team may be leaning toward going by matchups. If there are tough lefty batters lined up in the ninth inning, Conley may get the call on those days. If not, it could be Steckenrider, who had 5 saves as a rookie in 2018. A third candidate could be Teran Guerrero, one of the hardest throwers in the league. Guerrero's average fastball was 98.8 miles per hour, per StatCast, with a high of 104 miles per hour. But Guerrero lacks a reliable second pitch. Should he find it, the lanky right-hander could join the closer mix. Joe Fursaramits. Upon acquiring Edwin Diaz in a 7-player deal in December, the Mets made it clear that Diaz would take ownership of the ninth inning both in 2019 and beyond. Arguably the game's best closer last season, Diaz converted 57 of his 61 opportunities with a 1.16 ERA in save situations. He would need to take a half-dozen steps backward to lose his grip on the ninth. The Mets have another proven closer in Juris Familia to fill in on Diaz's off days, or if injury strikes, but he's not a threat to take Diaz's job anytime soon. Anthony Dicuma video. Diaz excited to be playing for the Mets. Nationals. Remember a few years back when "who would close" used to be an annual question for the Nationals? Well, not anymore. Sean Doolittle has all but erased those concerns since he arrived in the summer of 2017. His dominance on the mound, personality quirks and passion off the field are all reasons he quickly became a favorite in Washington, inspiring fans to chant "do" as he marches out for a save in the ninth inning at Nationals Park. And last season further cemented him as one of the game's best relief pitchers. He made the NL All-Star team after compiling a career-low 1.60 ERA with 25 saves in 26 chances, although his season was interrupted by a nagging foot injury. His hold on the closer's job is very secure. Jamal Collier. Phillies. David Robertson will receive some closing opportunities, but so will Seranthony Dominguez and possibly Hector Neris. Yes, Phillies manager Gabe Kapler still plans to use his relievers like he used them last season. If Robertson's best matchup is the 8th inning, then the Phillies will have him pitch the 8th. If that spot is best for Dominguez, it will be Dominguez, or Neris, or Pat Neshek, or Tommy Hunter, and on and on. Kapler might not be ready to implement an opener, like some other teams, but he loves relievers being open to any situation in any inning. Todd Zalek. Central Brewers. The club appears likely to split closer duties between 3 capable relievers, right-handers Corey Knebel and Jeremy Jeffress, and left-hander Josh Hader when an opposing lineup warrants it. Because manager Craig Counsell likes to pick his spots with Hader, often for multiple inning stints that burn Hader for the next day or two, Knebel and Jeffress are the leading candidates for what we think of as traditional closer duties. Both have experience in that role and made the NL All-Star team, Knebel in 2017, and, after Knebel went down with a hamstring injury last April, Jeffress in 2018. Whomever emerges as the 9th inning guy, Counsell has solid options for the late innings. Adam McCall. Cardinals. Perhaps the Cardinals' depth chart at closer should read Andrew Miller with an asterisk, as the club intends to maintain some flexibility in how they cover the 9th. Miller is the most experienced option, but because he's the most dynamic lefty in the bullpen, he will also be deployed in key situations earlier in games. That will open up opportunities for second-year righty Jordan Hicks to receive some 9th inning exposure. And don't forget about Alex Reyes, the returning top prospect who could be used as a late-inning reliever if the Cards feel that's the best way to manage his workload. In other words, the Cardinals believe they've built a bullpen with options. Jennifer Language video, Padres, Reds showing interest in deal for Real Muto. Cubs expect Pedro Strop to begin the season as the Cubs' primary option for save opportunities, given Brandon Morrow's situation. Morrow underwent a debridement procedure on his right elbow in November and will likely miss at least the first couple weeks of the regular season. That will likely lead to more chances for Strop, who has a 2.63 ERA in 361 games with the Cubs over parts of the past 6 seasons. He notched 13 saves in 18 when Morrow was also injured. The heavily used Steve Cishek will present another option, and the Cubs also have an agreement in place with righty Brad Brach, who has closing experience over the course of his career. Jordan Bastion. Pirates, Felipe Vasquez will be back in the 9th inning for the Pirates this year. The Bucks are betting on their bullpen being a strength, and it starts with the 27-year-old left-hander. Vasquez has put together a 2.35 ERA and 1.13 WHIP with 216 strikeouts in 172 2/3 innings since joining Pittsburgh in a trade that sent former closer Mark Melancon to Washington. Last season, the hard-throwing Vasquez racked up 37 saves and struck out 89 in 70 appearances despite a handful of blown saves in May. Right-hander Keone Kela gained plenty of experience as a closer with the Rangers, but he is set to serve as a high-leverage setup man in his first full season with the Bucks. Adam Berry. Reds, Raisel Iglesias is in his 5th year with the Reds, but he has quietly become one of the game's better closers the last 2 seasons with a 2.43 ERA, 1.09 WHIP and 58 saves in 64 chances over 129 games. But after signing him to a new 3-year, $24.1 million contract in November, Reds management indicated that Iglesias' role could expand beyond the 9th inning. New manager David Bell and pitching coach Derek Johnson could tap into the right-hander's starting experience and enjoyment of working multiple innings in relief to use Iglesias' elite arm in a variety of ways to get outs in high-leverage situations. If he's not closing a game, the job could fall to Jared Hughes or David Hernandez. Mark Sheldon and LWESTD backs. With the departure of Brad Boxberger, it appears like Archie Bradley will inherit the closer's role. After a dominant 2017, the right-hander had some struggles in 2018. Some of that might be attributable to trouble with the nail of his right forefinger, which continually cracked and made it difficult for him at times to use his curveball. Yoshihisa Hirano will also be a big part of the back end of the bullpen, and look out for rookie Yoan Lopez, who flashed electric stuff and a confident demeanor during a September call-up. Steve Gilbert. Dodgers. The Dodgers know who their closer is, they just don't know how he is. Kenley Jansen had a 5.5-hour procedure to address a recurring irregular heartbeat. He had one 6 years ago and was fine by opening day, and the Dodgers are cautiously optimistic that the issue, which disrupted his 2018 season, is resolved and he will be ready for opening day, but they won't really know until observing him in spring training. If he isn't, the acquisition of Joe Kelly looms large. At the club's FanFest on Saturday, Jansen said he's lost 25 pounds and is ready to roll for the start of spring training. Ken Gurnick video, Padres, Reds showing interest in deal for Real Muto. Giants. Will Smith enjoyed an impressive bounce-back season with the Giants last year after missing the entire 2017 season while rehabbing from Tommy John surgery. The 29-year-old left-hander posted a 2.55 ERA with a 0.98 WHIP over 54 appearances and converted 14 saves in 2018. Smith is currently projected to reprise his role as the club's closer, but it remains to be seen if he'll still be wearing a Giants uniform on opening day. The Giants have been taking calls on Smith this offseason, and they could move him or fellow left-hander Tony Watson as they look to build a younger and more versatile roster under new president of baseball operations Farhan Zaidi. Smith is slated to earn $4.225 million in his final season before free agency, further motivating the Giants to explore trades for him. Maria Guardado. Padres, coming off a career year, Kirby Yates enters camp as the presumed closer in San Diego. He took over last July when Brad Hand was dealt to Cleveland. Despite a couple late-season hiccups, Yates finished with a 2.13 ERA and 90 strikeouts in 63 innings. In fact, Yates' 37.2% strikeout rate since joining the Padres in 2017 is highest in franchise history. It's worth noting, however, that the Padres played around with matchups quite a bit last season. Yates, a right-hander, will presumably pitch the 8th inning on occasion if he's set to face a string of tough righties. In such cases, a lefty like Jose Castillo could be saved for the 9th. AJ Cassavell. Rockies. In many senses, the Rockies and their closer, Wade Davis, are in an enviable position. Davis led the NL in saves with a club record 43, with 5.70 strikeouts for each walk at .122 batting average against in those games. But he also had a career-high 6 blown saves, 2 off the league lead. Manager Bud Black points out Davis has been dedicated to tweaks to improve his pitches, and bullpen coach Darren Holmes revealed that Davis, who during last season had to change his eating and workouts because he felt more worn than usual, has added weight and strength this offseason as he heads for the middle season of a 3-year, $52 million contract. Thomas Harding as the 2019 season draws near and rosters take a clearer scope. MLB.com has been examining each club's current construction and projecting how personnel might look on opening day. With bullpens becoming more versatile and less defined, the closer role has seen as drastic a change as any in recent years, particularly with many clubs opting for their best relief arms in the most high-leverage situations, regardless of inning. That trend could certainly continue in 2019, and it has led to some uncertainty about who will pitch the 9th for a handful of clubs. And for others, some of the most established closers will retain their roles. Here is a breakdown of where things stand for each club at closer. American League East. Blue Jays. The Blue Jays bullpen has plenty of question marks this year, but the one area where there appears to be a lot of certainty is at the very back end. Toronto might have parted ways with an established, yet troubled, closer in Roberto Osuna, but they got an effective one in return by landing Ken Giles during last year's trade. The 28-year-old posted a shaky 4.65 ERA in 2018, but almost all of his troubles came in non-save situations. In save opportunities, Giles was a perfect 26 for 26, and he enters camp as Toronto's undisputed closer. The better he pitches this spring, the more likely it is he will be dealt before the July 31st non-waiver trade deadline. Greg Orch's Orioles. Like nearly everything with regards to the Orioles roster, the closer spot remains in flux. Michael Givens is the obvious choice. One of the O's few veteran holdovers, Givens finished 2018 as the closer after spending the previous 3.5 years as an effective setup man, particularly against right-handed hitters. He is clearly Baltimore's most accomplished reliever at this point, but whether Givens closes remains an open question. It'll likely take weeks of assessment before new O's manager Brandon Hyde taps someone specific for the 9th, if he even does so at all. The O's could also decide whether they prefer to deploy Givens in high-leverage situations regardless of inning. For what it's worth, Givens has said he is open to any role. Joe Terrazza Rays. There's a good chance the Rays go into the 2019 season without naming an official closer. Sergio Romo led the team with 25 saves last season, but he's not expected to return in 19. For the most part, Romo served as the team's primary closer, but manager Kevin Cash wasn't afraid to use Romo earlier in the game if he believed that was the pivotal part of the game. While that will continue to be the case this season, left-hander Jose Alvarado has the chance to establish himself as the primary closer, with right-handers Diego Castillo and Chaz Romo